When people ask us who we are, we tell them we're problem solvers, opportunity creators, and change makers. We are Rotary. Around the world, our network of 1.4 million neighbors, friends, and leaders volunteer their skills and resources to solve issues and address community needs. Take action with us. Find out more at rotary.org/action.
Good morning, everyone. I have a microphone again. We are live streaming this morning, so thank you for anyone who's out there watching us. I'm sure there are so many people. And we are going to start our program for Golden Triangle Rotary Club this morning, and Alan's going to take over.
All right, so this morning we're going to start off. Stephanie's going to lead us in prayer. You can do it right there. And Mr. Wardle's going to lead us in the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so with that, we have a guest this morning. Well, we have a guest Rotarian this morning. Jim, welcome. So, and I understand that you have a quick announcement you want to make?
Yes. Our club is doing. I can talk about that.
Well, they can't hear you without it.
They can't hear me?
No, the live stream.
Oh, the live stream. Okay, great. Well, my name is Jim Giffen. I'm a member of the South Lake Rotary Club, those of you who don't know me. And I was visiting here. Well, let's see. I've been visiting here for as long as your club has been existing. So that's good, I guess. But our club is having a fall fundraiser. We're selling poinsettias, and so if everybody wants to decorate their office or have gifts for their business, they want to hand out to customers or something like that, and a beautiful poinsettia is something that's pretty nice, and we're going to buy them. We're going to put them all over. We're going to have a pickup on November the 22nd, the Friday before Thanksgiving, and 4 weeks before Christmas, where you can pick your poinsettias up. So if anybody's interested in buying some of these poinsettias, they'll be delivered at the First United Methodist Church on White's Chapel there in South Lake, and we'll be there distributing them all day on the Friday the 21st. So I'll pass these out, and if you would like to join us and help our club out, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Any brags and blessings this morning? Michelle.
So my youngest has made it to the age of 18 today. He survived.
It's now his problem. Any other brags and blessings? All right. If there's no other brags and blessings, Christy has one.
My big kid's coming home today, so I get to go pick her up at the airport, and that's a blessing for me. So, yay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, all right. Any others? Okay, well, so with that, how about Harry? You got anything for us?
Okay, next week is our big membership challenge, so hopefully you all have a guest that's coming. Please bring a guest so we have some people to talk to about Rotary. I think all of you will learn something new about our club too. I'm looking for still that binder with all the pictures from the chartering event. And actually there was a binder in there that had a couple of the spare pictures, and that's not there either, but I do need that. We have a Rotary brochure that we put together that we will have at that next meeting as well to have something that they can take away. And then also you all can have your own special supply. I want to thank Tim James for his help in this. He's not here today, so keep Tim and his family in your prayers. His mom isn't doing well, and he's up there with her today, so please be thinking about them. He will be back to things by next week, but just in case, please keep them in your prayers. Tim is helping with membership, so he'll be part of the presentation next week. God willing, that he'll be back and be able to do that. But please bring a guest, and Tim had those lists and shared with you last week the ones that we put the names down. So hopefully you have those with you. We're hoping to have a full house next week, and remember your guests. Breakfast is on us, so hopefully you'll have someone with you, and they'll get to learn a little bit about not just our club, but Rotary International as well. So, see you next week.
All right. Edward, what do you got for service?
Good morning, everyone. Service of us. So I want to let you know that we do have our October event, and that's going to be at Christ Haven where we're going to pass out candy. So we're asking for all of you, please make sure that you have all your candy in by October the 24th. So give us time to go out and to pass out the candy at Christ Haven. And we want to make it nice and simple this year, so we'll have 2 shifts for everyone, so you don't have to stay for the entirety of the time. So it's just 2 simple shifts. And I spoke with Summer. She volunteered to keep her vehicle there, so it's not like last year we had Madam President had to keep her vehicle there the entire time. So Summer keep her vehicle there. So, but the key thing is October the 24th. Please make sure you have all your candy in by that time. Feel free to bring it in before then. Thank you very much, and I'll give the rest of our time to Brandon and Brandon.
Good morning, guys. I had sent out a message this last week that our Serving Our Seniors project that we were going to do on September the 28th has been canceled, but we have moved it over to November 2nd. So as soon as I get those actual details, I'll share those with you. But if you could just mark it down on your calendar, it's going to be November 2nd, and it'll be 9 to probably 11 or 12-ish, just depending on how many of us are there and how quick we can get it done. So, Deanna?
Good morning. Okay, with Little by Little, just wanted to give an update for the cornhole tournament that they had this past weekend. Katie, who started it, she is actually in Chihuahua, Mexico right now. She took down the funds that that we raised this weekend. They raised a little over $2,000. She did confide in me that she is struggling financially with the foundation, and she did ask if we have any ideas as a club, as an individual, or anything like that, any ideas that will help bring in more or additional funds in the future, to just kind of let her know. But they were extremely, extremely grateful for our donation, and good job, guys. I appreciate you not embarrassing me. Thanks.
Good job, Deanna. Thank you very much.
All right. Chris, do you have anything on youth?
Yeah, so Interact. We got an Interact picnic coming up on October the 6th, I do believe. I get my dates right. October 6th over at Great Beach Park, 1:30 to 3 o'clock. We're sharing that with the Teller Rotary. So we've already got 4 kids from Timber that are going to be joining us for that. So if you are interested in joining and participating in that, we'll hit you up before October 2nd. So I can go ahead and notify the folks over at Teller Rotary so they can take care of anything on that. All right? Thank you.
Awesome. Steve, anything from Treasury?
Yeah, the pickleball tournament with since Gallantfew is here, since the baby production was still planned for November 16th, and it's again, it's planned to be a 20-team, like a pro-am type setup. So it's a sponsor team, you get to play with that. And for November 16th, we're still finalizing the marketing material, but just know that'll come together pretty quick for the next couple of weeks. We'll get more information to more questions.
All right. Brandy, wine discovery. Oh, sorry. I was reading the agenda.
Changing the agenda. Okay, wine discovery. Brandy and I have been chatting, and Summer as well. Wine discovery is going to be a Golden Triangle Rotary Club event this year. Metroport has elected to not participate with us this year, just for the amount of work that it requires from their club, and the, profits that they made last year. They've just decided it doesn't benefit them, so they're going to do something different. What I understand at the moment is that we're going to just continue to move forward with the event. I don't think we're going to change the name. We're verifying that with a few of their members now, just to make sure we don't need to kind of rebrand it or not. But Brandy and I are ready to hit the ground running. We've got sponsorship packets pretty much made. We're just confirming the name of the event, and we want to have that out probably in the next 2 weeks, so we can start pounding the pavement and getting some of this stuff squared away. The event is March 1st. I keep wanting to get the date wrong. March 1st. So we our runway's a little shorter, and we need to make sure that we kind of get going on this. October is going to be a big month for us as far as soliciting for sponsorships, food vendors, and then confirming with our wine vendors. Once we hit November, we're going to lose a lot of momentum through the holiday season. Just people are going to be pivoting in different directions. So I really want to get to January and have a lot of the legwork done so that we can start marketing it a little more aggressively this time around. And I think it's going to be a really good event. We have the potential. Last year, we made over $20,000, but we split that with the Metroport Club. So we have the potential now to do a little more work and really reap the benefits on the other side, and we'll be able to do so much more, maybe even for some of our organizations that we support. So get your wine discovery hats on and let me know what you want to do. We're going to schedule a meeting for a broader committee meeting in the next probably couple weeks. So, all right. Yes, I will. Staple it to your head. Yes. We're just going to use Zelle. We haven't had Oktoberfest is we've been trying to help Shotzi's and Keller Tavern schedule some vendors for their Oktoberfest. And Deanna, I don't know where you went. Did she leave? I need to chat with her, but there you are. We've posted in a few vendor groups, and there's not been a lot of interest so far, but I think everyone's kind of booked out a lot for that first weekend in October. It's a very heavy vendor weekend as far as shopping for the holidays and kind of the fall season opening up. So there's a lot of vendors that are going to be on the east side of 377. We were trying to get some for the west side. We just haven't had very much interest yet. So that's all I have. They haven't asked for any volunteer hours at the moment. They were wanting help just to schedule vendors, and we're not getting much feedback on that. But as far as I know right now, I don't think they want bodies for volunteering for anything at the moment. I've tried to confirm a couple times, and I'll try one more. So not getting a lot of feedback. So, okay. So now I would like to turn this to Alan.
I have a last-minute brag and blessing.
So I just wanted to let a lot of you know we've been looking for a salesperson for quite a while, and we just hired one last week. Last week or the first week, so she's in the middle of her second week. Her name is Cynthia Hamilton, and she's gonna be fantastic. She's from New York, but she's transplanted to Texas fast as she could. But she has a sense of style which I lack, so I think she's gonna bring a lot to our business. So thank y'all for your prayers and all that, and everybody who was trying to help me find somebody. So there you go.
All right, so with that, I will take a moment and introduce our guest speaker. It's been a while since he's joined us, but Carl, if you would like to take the floor, I hand it over.
Thanks, Alan. It's weird talking with the microphone and you don't hear the sound coming back. I'd like to introduce Nicole Archer. Nicole is our development director. She just joined us this month, so she's been on the job a total of 6 days. So if you have any questions, ask Nicole. And Nicole, if you would just pass those out, and I'll hand a couple over here. You guys can just run them down that side. How many military veterans do we have in the house? So typically audiences that I speak to, it's somewhere around 3 to 5%, so that kind of holds about right. Who's the youngest military veteran in terms of time out of the military? How long you guys been out? Okay. You're still in. Okay, well, you win. Win a copy of my book, so when you're ready to get out, now you got the plan. Well, Marine Corps? It's nice to be with you guys today. I saw a piece that Anderson Cooper did on 60 Minutes. It was an interview of Rick Rubin, who's the founder of Def Jam Labels in LA. You would think that the guy that Beyonce and everybody goes to for advice on their music would be more, I don't know, look like a rap person or something, but this guy looks like Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead, right? So the older folks in here know what that looks like. And so Anderson says, hey, I want to know how does a guy like you with no formal music education become this go-to guy for everybody that's in the music industry? And before he said anything else, he said, Anderson, before we get started, I'd just like to breathe with you. And Anderson's like, I thought we were doing that already. He's like, no, I want to just close my eyes, and for 2 minutes, I'm just going to breathe. And so he closes his eyes and he leans back, and for 2 minutes he just breathes, and it shows Anderson Cooper looking very awkward, and he's not sure what he's supposed to do. And then Rubens opens his eyes afterwards, and he thanks Anderson, and he says, you know, my day's hectic. Sometimes I've got these big projects that are going on. I've got all these important meetings, and when I go from meeting to meeting to meeting, I'm carrying things from before into the meeting. And when I do this pause and I breathe and I examine myself for stress and I just let that go, it allows me to focus on the time that I have with you. So I ask you, we're going to do just really quick, we're going to do 30 seconds. I'd like you to just close your eyes, and I would just like you to focus on knowing that you're breathing in and knowing that you're breathing out. Start now. Sometimes that can be the longest 30 seconds of the day, sometimes the shortest. But thank you for doing that. I hold this time that we have together sacred, and I want to make sure that we're all focused together. Just a little bit about me. I served in the Army back in the 1900s, and spent a lot of time carrying heavy rucksacks and jumping out of airplanes. The picture on the right is the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Savannah, Georgia. I was the personnel officer for the 1st Ranger Battalion during Desert Storm. At the head of that's a guy named Ken Stouse. Ken is this really tough-looking lieutenant colonel in the front. And on the 29th of October, 1992, he and 11 other special operations warriors were killed in a helicopter crash that went down the Great Salt Lake. And that event started my journey to what I do now. I'm not going to go through my whole story. You can read about it in the book or have somebody read it to you. But the events of that led me to leave the military, and that started, I experienced all of the things that the veterans that I'm working with today go through. So this was published in the VFW magazine that just came out this month. The public is indifferent. People are too busy making money to think of veterans who can't support their families because they're sick and unable to work. Something's got to be done to help. It kind of puts it up to us since nobody else seems interested. Anybody want to guess when that meeting happened, when he said that? Any ideas? 1899. That was when the VFW was founded. So then you look at, in 125 years, what's changed? What the VA tells us, if I can hit the right button here. The VA tells us that veterans are a little bit higher at risk for PTSD than the general population. They're a lot more at risk for suicide. They are the current average estimate, about 17 veterans take their own lives every day. And if you add that up on a yearly basis, on a decade basis, that is a lot of people. Veterans are at higher risk for substance abuse. And in 2023, over 35,000 veterans were homeless at least one night. And that's up 7% from 2022. Doesn't pass the four-way test if you match that up against the four-way test, right? It's the truth, absolutely. But it's not fair, it's not beneficial. It actually harms our society. So 125 years, all the experience that we've had, and this is still the problem. So what is it that's missing? And what I believe is hope and purpose. When you leave the military, when you're in the military, you have a very defined mission. You know exactly what your purpose is. And if you have any question about what your purpose is, whoever your supervisor is going to make sure that you know what your purpose is, right? And sometimes that gets reinforced with negative training, but you know what your purpose is. Then when you get out, you don't have that person that is motivating you, pushing you, identifying what your future mission is. It's on you to figure it out. And a lot of veterans wait for that to come to them. They wait for someone to tell them what to do. They tell me, what I really need is a squad leader. So how do you develop that in the veterans? This is a little bit about Gallantfew. If I can get this to work again. Let's make sure my sound is on. All right, let's hope it's connected to my speaker. Come on, play. We just got a glitch. There we go.
Purpose strengthens our nation. No government program exists to provide one-on-one transition and reintegration support to our military. Gallantfew fills that void. There's no one-size-fits-all plan for a patriot's transition from military to civilian life. That's where Gallantfew comes in. Gallantfew's coaching and mentorship are designed for the needs of the individual. Coupled with vetted resource referrals and frequent Gallantfew Azimuth Check self-assessments, the heroes we serve have a clear path to living a purposeful life. For those who haven't served in our military, you too can be a patriot. Join us as we motivate civilian communities across our great nation to take responsibility for their military heroes returning through welcoming, connecting, and including. Strengthen your community by creating an environment of gratitude and empathy for those who protect it. All patriots find purpose with Gallantfew, America's veteran team. Take the Azimuth Check today. A veteran.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about historically what's the veteran experience been. Native America, warriors come back. They've done horrible things on the behalf of their tribe, the behalf of their village, and they're welcomed back. They are put through a ritual cleansing. They go through a sweat lodge. The tribe brings them food. They care for them. They do everything they need to do. They give them the time they need to do to process the things they've done. The tribe extends tremendous appreciation for the awful things that warrior had to do. Move forward into, well, I don't have a picture on there because I guess they didn't have photos back then, but Civil War. What happened in the Civil War? If I enlist here in Texas and I end up fighting in Georgia, how'd I get there? Probably walked, right? Horse, maybe rail, but I walked a lot of that. So fought in the war, how'd I get home? Walked back, right? Walked back with my buddies. So the whole time that I'm walking back, I'm processing. I'm sharing my experience. We're talking about those that we lost. We're talking about the things we had to do. We're being reassured that the things that we had to do were important. So you get time to process. What happened, World War I, World War II, Korea? Troop ship, right? So you spend a month going overseas on the ocean, and when you come back, you spend a month coming back. And as you come back, you're playing cards, you're talking to your buddies, you're processing all the things that happened. You're being reassured the things that you did were important, that you had to do that. You're honoring the sacrifices. Bottom right picture, anybody know what that is? Are there any Vietnam veterans here? Do you know what that picture is? Yeah, what is it? Yeah, that's the minute that the POWs from the Hanoi Hilton cleared Vietnam space. And they're all celebrating. So within half a day, they're back. Within a day, they're back with their family and friends. But now they're on an airplane. They're coming back very, very rapidly. But even in that time, they had some time to process. What happens today? You have somebody like Josh Phyllis, who's lieutenant colonel in the Texas National Guard. He lives about 1.5 miles from here. He gets ordered to deploy to Syria for a year with a bunch of people that he really doesn't know. And then when it's done, he hops on a plane, he comes back with a bunch of people he doesn't know, and now he's back with his family. It's literally minutes, right? But who does he process that with? Who does he talk to? Who are the buddies that sit with him and talk about the losses they had, the things they needed to do? In the National Guard system, they might come together again in a month for a weekend, but during that time they're doing training, they're doing activities. They really don't have time to do that. So there's this present day, there's this huge need for them to have the opportunity to process. When you go and you connect with a resource, traditional resource like the VA, hey, I'm a veteran, I need counseling, I'm going to reach out to the VA for counseling. If you're lucky, they'll get you in a month. If you're lucky, they'll get you in a month. When you're in the system, it takes, you get about 12 sessions, and then they say, okay, you're good, we need to have somebody else because we got this long waiting list. And so if you still need counseling, I don't know if any of you have gone through therapy, 12 sessions, if you got a lot of stuff to work through, is not enough, right? So you get put back in the hopper, and when another slot becomes available, which is probably going to be months down the road, now you get an opportunity to talk to a counselor again. So it's very spotty, but the veteran culture is such that we don't want to go talk to somebody and say that I need some help. This is one Army veteran story. I apologize for the lighting on this, but we had just finished rock climbing all day, and the sun is going down, and we're out in Colorado. Got to figure out the magic thing to make it play. There we go. Earl Monger with Gallantfew. I'm here with Josh Kent. Josh,
Yeah.
tell the world who you are.
Okay, so my name is Josh Kent. I'm a disabled veteran. I was in the 82nd Airborne Division. I was in a parachuting accident. I ended up getting medically discharged after that. Met Bryce Mahoney, kind of on accident. Actually, don't even remember how I met Bryce. But he invited me to a climbing thing, and then later that year invited me to the Gallantfew trip.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about Gallantfew. Our big three is connecting, coaching, counseling.
Yes.
So what has that meant to you?
It's meant my life, to be honest. So connecting with veterans and with climbers. So some of my best friends in the world today are veterans I've met through climbing. And people I've met climbing because we've shared experiences. But yeah, I went to the Pilot Mountain trip in 2018. I was overweight, I was depressed, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life less than a year after the Army. Went to that trip, fell in love with climbing, wanted to get in shape again, graduated with my bachelor's 2 years later, my master's 2 years after that. Work as a high school history teacher now. I love coaching, so I coach high school sports. And I've worked as a climbing guide. I got my AMGA SPI instructor course and exam done, and so this is me at a Gallantfew trip now. On the other end.
Spirit of Derby 2024. It landed on the mouse. I'm trying to turn the sound so you guys can hear it, and it landed on the mouse and turned it off. All right, come on. That's not good. All right, so while the computer's deciding if it's going to come back or not, because I've got the little black hourglass on my screen. Josh, what happened with him, 82nd Airborne, he was hurt. And when you get hurt in the Army, especially when you're in a unit like that, the military says, you're no good to us anymore. We can't use you, can't jump out of planes. We're not going to give you a desk job. We're going to declare you 100% disabled and maybe even unemployable. And we're going to pay you enough to live on, but we want you to go away, and we don't want you to bother us. We would rather you, I'm going to restart this because it's not responding. We would rather you just not cause an issue, right? So the process of going through leaving the military like that is soul crushing. It takes your self-esteem and it just stomps it into little pieces. And so you have somebody that was a paratrooper, loved to jump out of airplanes, loved to do all that kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden they can't do any of that anymore. And when they go try to look for a job, the jobs that they have the opportunity to do, people look at them and say, well, you jumped out of airplanes for a living. You know, you can't work here. You don't have the skill set to do it. So anyway, there's a big mismatch. And it's complicated by the fact that this veteran is having an issue. Hey, Nicole, would you grab this thing, because it is just completely locked up, and it is not. It is just not working. I don't know if that's going to come around or not. So I'm gonna wing it while she's seeing if you can just restart the thing, then I'll put the password in. So what happened with Josh is he got invited to come to an outdoor climbing event. And when he came to the outdoor climbing event, and he goes on to tell in this, he weighed 40 pounds more. His self-confidence was very low. His physical conditioning wasn't good. His back had a lot of pain. And we said, come on, we'll let you do the things that you can do within the limits of your disability. And when he came out and started climbing, he absolutely loved it. And what happens when you climb, and climbing is a big part of the connecting part of what Gallantfew does. When you climb, you have other veterans that are with you that are making sure that the dangerous things that you're now doing are safe, right? You get some training in how to do it. You get the adrenaline rush of doing something that's a little dangerous. You have to trust the person that's belaying you on the rope, because if they drop you, you're going to get hurt again, especially if you already have a back injury, right? You're very sensitive to that. And while you're climbing, the other veterans are cheering you on. They're encouraging you. They're showing you. They're telling you where the holds are, where to put your foot. When you take that veteran out of the military, all of those things have gone away. Doing things that are dangerous, having people that got your back, having people that are encouraging you to what to do next, right? And then when they're done climbing, when they come down, what we say is, okay, it's your turn to belay. You're the safety person now, because I'm going to climb. And now I put my life in their hands while I climb. That increases their self-confidence and their self-esteem. A different veteran, a year later after a program like this, he came to me and he said, you know, that first day that I came and climbed with you guys, you turned to me and you said, I want you to belay me. And he said, I told you, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I said, you went through the training. I trust you. You're a veteran. I trust you. Let's go. And I survived the experience, right? But he's telling me now that's the first time since he'd left the military 6 years before that anyone had trusted him with anything of value. So that's pretty huge when now I'm trusting him and he feels comfortable enough to do it. That veteran has gone on now and graduated from both college, and now he's a watchmaker. So his transition journey was pretty cool. One of the things that the Gallantfew focuses on is connecting. Connecting involves things like rock climbing. We do some outdoor things. I've got some pictures. Is it coming back on? Oh, yay. Good. Plug that guy in there, and let's see if we can, in the top one. Should pick up the thing here in just a second, and I'm going to hit the... All right, let me fast forward now. Let's see if I'm going to keep the speaker completely away from anything else so that doesn't happen again. We already watched that. We're going to go past this. I already told you enough about his story. The big thing about Josh, though, now is he has become a climbing guide. So now he has a job in Colorado where he takes groups of people out and they do rock climbing. This last June, we took a group of veterans from here. We did a week-long retreat out in the mountains of Colorado. And we took, one of them is a veteran named Doug, retired Air Force Master Sergeant, did more than 20 years in the Air Force. And I met Doug, and he's given me permission to tell his story. I met him when he was in the Veteran Treatment Court in Tarrant County because he'd been arrested for a DUI. When I met him, he was going through a divorce. He was unemployed. He had every possible problem that you could have, all compounded on top of everything else. And he tells me, and I don't remember this conversation, but he said the first time we talked, after I listened to his issues, he said, I told him, what rank did you retire from the military? And he said, Master Sergeant in the Air Force. And I said, when's the last time you acted like one? And he said it was a punch to the forehead for him. And he realized right then he had not been acting like who he was. And that's when he decided to change. We connected him with rock climbing. We took him on this retreat. I mean, he's got a completely different story, and I'm going to get him to come out and talk to a Rotary Club here pretty soon. This is some of the things that we do for connecting. We hiked Pikes Peak. We take veterans that have never been above tree line, right? There's some veterans here in Texas that have never been in an elevation. We put them through a few days of climatization so the altitude is not going to be dangerous for them. And then we have them walk up to the top of Pikes Peak with us. This is, it looks like a military mission because you're infiltrating into the target. So these guys, all of a sudden your brain is going, wow, I know this. This is something that I've done before. But now you have all these other factors of being older and maybe a little more out of shape and the altitude, but you've got your buddies that are bringing you along. So it's a really cool experience. The rock climbing in the top right there, that's a Marine Corps veteran. He was an EOD guy that had a bomb go off while he was trying to defuse it. And he's a triple amputee, blind in one eye. And we can put him on the wall and he can climb, right? So now you have somebody that when we met him, he was sitting down, wasn't doing anything because his kids were climbing. We pulled him in, got him the gear that he needed, and now he's competing on the Paralympic climbing team. Some of the other things we do, the Denim and Diamonds Gala, we have that coming up in March. Patriot Challenge in May is a holistic kind of a competition. I'll show you a couple of things about that in a minute. And we're right now in the middle of Run Ranger Run. And I'll talk briefly about that in a minute. So the second C is coaching. When early days of Gallantfew, I got connected with the Burris Institute from Los Angeles. And Dr. Kelly Burris developed cognitive behavioral therapy in a box that a layperson can develop. That's how I first became interested in the counseling profession personally. And it was because now I started understanding more the power of my subconscious, the power of my internal self-talk, the power of vision. And once I started training other veterans in that, I loved it because I saw how they responded to it. I applied the concepts of that program to myself. People would ask me, why aren't you a counselor? You've been working with veterans for a long time. Why aren't you a counselor? And what the theory says is you repeat those questions to yourself. Why am I not a counselor? How do you answer a why question? Always starts with the same word. Why are we here today? Because it's Thursday, 7 a.m. That's when we meet, right? Because. Why am I not a counselor? Because I'm almost 60. Because it's expensive. Because it's a long process. Because the last time that I went to college was in 1983. I mean, there are all of these reasons why it's not going to happen. And as soon as I recognize I'm doing the whys, and I change it to what do I need to do to, what do I need to do to become a counselor? Well, I don't even know what that entails, so let me find out. Now I'm on the path, right? Submit a form, all of a sudden you're getting the information, and now you're on the track, and now a few years later I'm a licensed counselor. The second piece we do is one-on-one transition coaching. Gallantfew has a very unique relationship with the 75th Ranger Regiment, the active duty special operations unit that has had soldiers deployed in combat since October 19th, 2001, excuse me, right after 9/11. The 3rd Ranger Battalion and part of the regimental headquarters parachuted into Afghanistan. Ever since then, Rangers have been deployed in combat. Rangers are deployed overseas right now today. They're running missions probably as we speak, because wherever they are, it's nighttime. Nobody knows that that is going on. And when they come back, how do you go from being an Army Ranger to finding a civilian career? How do you come back and be able to process the things that you've experienced when yesterday you're in Syria and today you're back in Georgia or Washington State? So I'm a veteran of the 75th Ranger Regiment. The guy that's in Georgia that runs that program is retired out of the Ranger Regiment. So we have this very close relationship with the Ranger Regiment. Last week, we gave a presentation to 72 Rangers in Tacoma, Washington that are from the 2nd Ranger Battalion that sometime within the next 6 months, they have the option to leave the military. We're getting in front of that process by telling them what they can expect when they get out, who they need to connect with, how they maintain their mental health care, how do they find a job, where do they go to school. We now have about a dozen Rangers that are enrolled in Ivy League education because we're connecting them with Rangers that are helping them move into a path that otherwise they never would have even dreamed that they could do. That's important to all of us because we all pay taxes. We put a lot of money into the government. The government spends a lot of money to make a Ranger a Ranger. That ranger has the best training, the best leadership experience. They are phenomenal people, and they're men and women now. When they come out of the military, we don't want them to be a bum at home watching Netflix, not contributing. We want them to be in local politics. We want them to be leading organizations. We want them to be in Rotary clubs, right? But they don't know how to do that stuff. They don't think they can do that stuff, and they're not willing to reach out and ask for connections. So that's a huge part of what we do with that program. Now I'm a licensed counselor. I am building the capacity to provide more counseling to veterans, and we do it at no charge. The biggest expense that Gallantfew has is paying for counseling for veterans, because if you take someone that's in the Veteran Treatment Court, my buddy Doug, for instance, when he went into that process, DUI, lost his job, going through a divorce, where's his money, right? He doesn't have resources, and the court says you will put a breath start device on your vehicle, money. You will pay a monthly maintenance fee on that, more money. You will come to court one day a month for the next 8 months. How do you maintain a job when you got to go to court one day a month for the next 8 months, right? So there's all of these barriers that are put in place. When I stand up in the court and I say, I'll provide your counseling that's mandated by the court at no charge for you, but guess what? If you expect to sit in my office or on a Zoom call with me and have me ask you how you feel, you need to go find somebody and pay money to, because that's not the way our conversation goes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remind you who you are. We're going to assess where you are right now today, and we're going to find out how we move you forward. And that's a big piece of what we do with the counseling side. Some of you may have used one of these before, whether you were in Scouts or in the military, Lensatic Compass. You got to know 3 things if you're going to do a journey, right? What are those 3 things? What's the first thing you got to know? Where are you? Got to know your starting point. What's the second thing you got to know? Where you're going. Have I told this story to you guys before? So then what's the third piece? How are you going to get there? When you navigate through a forest or you're going at night, you're relying on the little glowing dots in this compass, right? You calculate what your azimuth is, what your direction is. You dial it into this compass, and while you walk, you try to keep the little lines between the glowing dots. And what happens when you walk in the middle of the night and you hit a tree? Well, now you got to go around the tree, but guess what? Now you're off azimuth. And then the next thing that happens is you walk through spider web. Now you're really off azimuth. And then the next thing is there's a creek that goes, right? So there's all of these things that conspire to take you off azimuth. You've got to get back on azimuth. And when you take that into military transition terms, where are you now today is an honest assessment of where you are. Where you're going to go is when you're satisfied with your life, what does that look like? And then you set the azimuth to get there, the things that you have to do to get there. On the way, guess what's going to happen? You're going to run into a relationship issue. That's running into a tree. You got to get around that. You're going to run into an employment issue. You walk through a spider web, right? All of these things are going to get in the way, but you got to get back on azimuth. So how do we do that? This is a proprietary tool that we developed to, we call the azimuth check, to help the veteran, number one, identify where they are, then where they're going, and then what's the path to get there. I encourage anyone to take the azimuth check. And on the brochures that we handed out on the back, there's a QR code that you can hit. And anyone, veteran or non-veteran, take the azimuth check. Because what it does is it gives you 5 areas that have 5 statements. And these 5 statements are 1 to 10 scaled ratings. 1 is not at all, 10's a whole bunch. The most important question that we ask, or statement we ask, is number 5 here. I believe life is worth living. 1 is not at all, 10's a whole bunch. Veterans are committing suicide rate of 17 a day, right? I mean, you saw that before. So if I get a veteran that says, yeah, I'm a 7 out of 10, the first thing I say to them, because if I ask a veteran, are you thinking about suicide? 110% of the time they're going to say no. But if I say life worth living, 1 to 10, where are you at? I'm a 7. Okay, 30% chance you're thinking about suicide. Am I accurate? Now I got them. And they're like, well, you know, okay, so tell me about the you-knows. What's going on that makes life worth living a 7 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10? And if it was a 10 out of 10 or even a 9 out of 10, what's the difference, right? Starting point, 7 out of 10. Destination, 10 out of 10. The difference is the journey. What do you have to do to make it a 10 out of 10? I plan my diet and stick to it. My favorite one's the physical fitness one, because as soon as I go to physical fitness, they're like, oh. Because the first question is, I follow a daily physical fitness plan, and they're like, maybe a 2. Okay. Are you happy with that? No. If you were happy with your daily fitness plan, what would it be? An 8. What's the difference? I'm going to the gym 3 times a week. Okay, how do we make that happen? Well, I don't have any money. Okay, we got a climbing program 3 times a week. You can come with us. You can use the weight room at the gym while you're there, right? So we're finding ways to get them to get on the journey. So the first one's emotional, then physical, then spiritual, and the last 2 are professional and social. The very last one that we ask is there for a reason that you guys may be able to pick up on right away. I avoid social media that makes me feel stressed or anxious. 1 to 10. We're going into presidential season. I don't know if anybody's seen that on the news or not, but you know what happens? You get sucked into your phone, you get sucked into the news, you get sucked into the things that are going on, and I talk to them about circle of control, right? Circle of control. What can you control in your life? Anybody? What's between your ears? The only thing you can control is what goes on between your ears, the choices that you make. You can't control if somebody cuts you off on 114, but you control your reaction to that person cutting you off, right? So I talk about, can you control anything that you see? If you argue with somebody on Facebook or Instagram or another platform about presidential politics or about abortion or about anything else, are you changing their mind? Absolutely not. What you're actually doing is you're probably damaging some potential relationships or some of your friends that may believe differently than you. So if you really want to make a difference, go volunteer someplace. Go volunteer at a place where you can be politically active. Go run for town council or city council, right? Do something. Don't just go online and take action that gets you all spun up that have absolutely zero effect on anybody else. So we get this baseline assessment, and then over time we have them go back once a month and we have them take the assessment again. This is a female Air Force veteran that I first engaged with in March of 2024. This is her overall. Of all 25 statements, she was about a 5.7 on a 1 to 10 scale of 25 statements. When we finished last week, she's at an 8. That's a pretty significant difference, right? You can see the upward slope there. But here's 2 that are really cool. 6 to a 10, life worth living. She could have been one of those 17, easy, right? Not now. Down the bottom, I have many ways to connect with others. She went from a 4 to a 9. By encouraging her to get out and get connected, that provides hope and purpose. That's a reason to live. So that, in a nutshell, is what we do. If all I did was show that, that's the effectiveness of what we do. To tell you the scale on which we do it. So far, now we're over 500 veterans. So this is from last week. We've provided almost 6,000 services to those 500 veterans. So we touch them multiple times. And this just shows kind of the breakdown. So clinical counseling, 443 individual counseling hours so far this year. I'm the only counselor on staff right now, so guess where I spend most of my time? It's one-on-one with veterans, right, which I absolutely love to do. But that shows you the impact. I challenge you to look at any other organization that has less than $1 million budget, that's audited at a 7% overhead, that has that kind of impact. So when you do an event, like a pickleball tournament or anything else, you know when you're supporting us, go back to that last slide, you're helping us take a life out of worth living statement from a 6 to a 10. And that's something you should be very proud of. So how do you take action? You guys are already on it with the stuff that you do. Run Ranger Run is going on right now. Run Ranger Run is an event that supports the work that we do with the Active Duty Ranger Regiment. The Rock, everything in the Rangers has to start with Ranger. Like this would be the Ranger computer mouse, and this is the Ranger compass, and this is the Ranger speaker. So we have the Ranger Outreach Center, the Rock. And the Ranger Outreach Center provides meeting space for the active duty folks if they want to get off post and get away from where people will see them. We have a gym there so they can come work out if they want to. We've got a half a dozen counseling offices. We even provide an office there for Wounded Warrior Project, and we don't charge them for it. How dumb are we, right? They make a lot more money than we do. But if they need to meet with a veteran, we say you can use our facility to do it. We also provide office space there for CRU, CRU, which is an organization that provides spiritual outreach to kids that are in boot camp. So they actually go on to Fort Moore, formerly known as Fort Benning, and they do outreach to the kids that are there. So this is where we do a lot of the one-on-one transition meetings. This is Tony's the guy that runs that program there. I'm there. This is at the National Infantry Museum in Columbus, Georgia, a couple of months ago, where we had about 100 Rangers that were interested. They haven't committed to getting out yet, but they're looking at getting out in the next 6 to 18 months. So we're talking to them about how do you save money, right? How do you start to network? How do you translate your skills? And my mission to them is find those Rangers that want to do what I'm doing. Because to become a clinical counselor, it's a 7-year glide path from ground zero. It's a very long journey, undergrad, master's, clinical time. It takes a long time to get there. So if we talk to somebody now that's getting out in 6 months, they're going to become a counselor about the time that I'm done counseling people, right? So we've got to get this thing, we've got to get more of them doing it, because when I get a Ranger that sits down with somebody who's never left the state of Texas, that's been out of college for 2 years, and that person is trying to counsel them on the things that are going on in their life, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. When I sit down with a Ranger, I can talk to them Ranger to Ranger about how do you, if you ever jumped out of an airplane, we call your butt your fourth point of contact. So we tell them you got to pull your head out of your fourth point of contact and start figuring out how you're going to move forward with your life. The Rock is located on the property of St. Luke United Methodist Church, downtown Columbus. There is a QR code on here because Run Ranger Run's going on right now. We're raising money. We're logging lots of miles. I'm up to about 250 miles on my bicycle so far this month. If you want to support my campaign, hit my QR code. Where Alan is, I have another one of these over there, so if you have to sneak out, hit the QR code. 5, 10, 5,000, $50,000 donations, all that stuff's cool. A couple more I'll tell you about. We have a gala that's coming up the end of March, and our speaker is Brandon Young. Brandon Young is an Army Ranger veteran who lives out in Colorado. He's on the Gallantfew Board of Directors. He and his business partner do a lot of consulting with very large companies. Have you heard of Team Red, White, and Blue? He's one of the founding members of Team Red, White, and Blue. He did that before he stopped doing that and went into business for himself. Team Red, White, and Blue has 100,000 people across the country that get together and do outdoor activities. So that's March 29th, 2025, Marriott Solana. We'll be marketing tables. I'm sure Alan will be helping us talk to you guys about tables. If your company would like to be a gala sponsor, talk to me or talk to Nicole. In May, Military Appreciation Month, we do what we call Patriot Challenge. If you have a company that's got a group of employees and you would like to have them do something that's fun, that helps them improve holistically, we do challenges during the month of May, physically, emotionally, spiritually, professionally, and socially, right? So an example on the social side is, when's the last time you reached out to somebody you haven't talked to in 10 months? Right, so you do that challenge, you check the block, you get credit for it, you get a t-shirt or a prize, whatever the company wants to coordinate as an incentive for their employee at the end. We've got these things that make it really fun to learn about what's going on in the veteran space, but then also be engaged, better yourself personally, and raise some money so that we can help some more veterans. My contact information here is here. That's me back in the 1900s. And that's me with my counseling uniform on. And the bottom corner here, that's all my contact information. The center one is my Run Ranger Run donate page. Anybody have any questions? Mm-hmm. This is total. Total, yeah. So I'm the only licensed counselor. I have 4 that have gone through the subconscious restructuring certification process. So an example is Zach Sabalos, Marine Corps veteran. He is a student out at UNT. He does weekly sessions with veterans where the subconscious restructuring process takes them through a very brief introduction to what the subconscious is and how it is instrumental in everything that you do. And then it takes you through a drill of what are the absolute musts in your life. We focus on 4 areas: love, health, wealth, self-image. And if, for instance, what's the one thing in your life in the area of love that you absolutely must do? And for everyone it's different. It might be faith-based, it might be personal-based, it might be spouse-based, whatever that is. Then we take them through a drill of why is that important? What's one thing you could do to make it a reality? What excuse do you give yourself when you don't do that thing? And what questions do you ask yourself about that? And then we turn that into a series of what we call positive empowering questions. So if the absolute must in my life is I absolutely must be a better husband, what's one thing I could do? I could do a weekly date night. Okay, so then I take that statement, turn it into, he's saying no, no, no. And then you take, I do couples counseling, so but we can, I'm really expensive if you're not a veteran though. And then we take that statement, we say, what do I need to do to have a weekly date night? And then we take them through a drill of working. So anyway, a lot of the ones we do, not just clinical counseling, but also other services like that. Mm-hmm.
Y'all do kind of think about as the personality testing will kind of be tracking of how the personality type is?
We have in the past, but we haven't found that that's helped in terms of the one-on-one work we do with them, because everyone is so individually different. But a lot of the veterans will peak out. If you're talking like the DISC scale, you know, they're gonna be higher on the D side in most cases. So we don't go there so much. What we do is one of the statements in social fitness is I'm surrounded by people who love and care about me. 1 to 10, where are you at? I'm a 3. Okay, so talk to me about your relationships. Talk to me about what are you involved. I refer on a weekly basis. I tell veterans, go find your local Rotary Club and visit, right? Because now you've started to open social connection. And I tell them why Rotary is important. Okay, South Lake Focus Group. Grab if you would email me and just remind me of that, and I will definitely check them out. Yeah, thank you. Other questions? I got 2 minutes.
Just kudos to you and Gallantfew for everything that you guys do for the veterans. Quick question, I'm just wondering, you're a jump master, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, you've been out about 20 plus years. With muscle memory, are you able to still check a door?
Oh, yeah. Dream about it all the time. There's nothing like being in back in the 1900s, it was a C-141. You know, they're different aircraft now, but grabbing the sides of the door and leaning out into the wind, and you've got a parachute on your back, but you know, if you fall out, you hope it deploys, but you're not over anything you're supposed to be over. Yeah, because the jump master is responsible for identifying that we're actually going to the right spot before you let all the rest of the jumpers out. Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. Yep. Anybody else? All right, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Carl. That was very informative. Does anyone have any other announcements or questions?
There's some right here, and this is going to get late for breakfast. So please join me in here. I've got a box of some up there in the front.
And find your guests to bring next week. We want to fill this place up and be overflowing. So I'm going to have Carl draw our winning ticket for our lottery today.
252-3049-252.
See, I don't even have to check my ticket because I never went. So nope, it's never going to happen. All right, Michelle's going to draw a card and maybe win. 2 cards and maybe win. And then we will be ready for our 4-way test as soon as she does that. 10 and a 4. Chance to win again. All right, Alan's going to do our 4-way test.
Things we think, say, or do. First, second, third, and fourth.
let the service begin when the meeting ends. Thank you guys for joining.